I think I am glad to have found this courage, I should say. I don't know how to describe it, but like, I guess at some point I got tired and I was like, I'll just do whatever I want to do. Even if it's weird, or even if people think that maybe sports and art doesn't make any sense, or even if people say, oh, but all this time that you put it on the dojo, you should put it on to art. I don't care at this point. I think it's one of the bliss of getting older, because like I used to give a fuck because I was younger, and so I was lacking confidence. Now at this point, it's like, why should I listen to you?
Absolutely.
And at the same time, not caring led me to finding this amazing community, so it feels less isolating. And I think the point that I was trying to make is the true liberating act is just to create an identity that works for yourself. So I don't know, maybe you're a musician that does rock climbing and is learning languages as a hobby and also collects stamps. That's amazing. I think the way that you said it before, like the breadth of that person. Yes, exactly. It's like, allow yourself to be complex, man. Like, why? I don't understand where this stems from, of a society of having to be one thing, or even worse. I noticed this especially on social media. There's this whole thing of like, oh, you're good at, I don't know, crochet. You should you should sell your jumpers. Like, why does everything have to be about money?
Yeah.
Like, we cannot let creativity just be creativity anymore, or like craft for the sake of craft.
Absolutely. Three, two, one. Hello. Welcome to another episode of the Jeoffrey Sarpong podcast. Today I'm here with Chloe. Chloe, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here once again. It's been quite a long time since we last spoke.
2 lifetimes ago.
It feels like it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And there's been a lot happening for you since then. So give us a quick rundown on what you've been up to, and anything new you've been doing.
Yeah. Oh my God, I don't even know what to start. I would say, as we chatted before, like, yeah, I started Jiu-Jitsu, which has been such a change in my life. And it's crazy how something that just relates to movement or sports, which can sound like very general, all the impacts that can have in your life. Apart from that, I would say work, meeting people. We had, summer 2025 happening. That's it. And trying to not feel too anxious about autumn happen.
I want to talk about Jiu-Jitsu because I know, yes, you're right. Last time we spoke, you hadn't started Jiu-Jitsu, and that was something I love doing. I completely love it. I haven't. It's actually funny because since you started, I've actually stopped for a while.
Which is good because I did not notice your Jiu-Jitsu highlight on yours. Like, so I did not know you do it.
Yeah, I know.
So it's so crazy. It feels like we
just pass each other ships in the middle of the night. But no, I think it's cool because now I can have someone to talk to you about Jiu-Jitsu and like kind of like delve deep into that, because I know like you don't understand it until you do it. It's one of those things you really don't understand until you do it.
Absolutely.
So give people like a little bit of background about like what got you involved in Jiu-Jitsu, what you've liked about it since you started. Let's start there.
So it's crazy because I swear to you that until 6 months ago, I did not know even what grappling was. I come from a background of martial arts. When I was in high school, I did karate for like 5 years. And I liked it. But I've always, like, it's one of those things that when you're younger, you do it because your parents signed up to it. And I guess it's something that you do after school. But for me, I always felt like something was missing, but I did not know because it was the only martial arts I've ever tried. And then when I moved to England, I simply had to stop. Then I did boxing for a year. So again, it was all striking, which was like, okay, it's fun. That's it. Not a big deal. And then it's just crazy how life changes, because I just encountered this very random video online of this, and this is where maybe some people will not understand what we're talking about, but I'm sure that you will know what I'm talking about. It's a 5 seconds takedown of a back take on a competition that, again, ends in 5 seconds.
That's crazy.
Obviously, rear naked choke. And it was so fast and so quick. I just remember watching and being like, I have to learn how to do that. That is.
I need that skill.
I was like, what is, like, I've never seen anything like this.
Yeah.
And then quick Google, found my gym. I was like, I literally went to my first trial class without knowing anything about jiu-jitsu, grappling, the difference between striking and grappling, like nothing of it. Obviously, I heard of wrestling before, but honestly, clueless.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
It's kind of crazy though, because now looking back, I'm like, I honestly had no idea what I was getting
involved
with.
Yeah.
What about your first?
Yeah, no,
that's
so I think it was very similar. I think I've always liked jiu-jitsu, like from afar, like, you know, I say always, past couple, like as I've known about it from, you know, seeing UFC and all these things, I've liked the grappling sports. You know, I've really been intrigued by that. But just like you, actually, I started Muay Thai like two years ago.
Of course.
So Muay Thai is where I first started. Even like, you know, I like the discipline of that. I like the training of that. I've said down this podcast before. Like when I go into it, was more like, okay, I want to get fit. I want to learn something that's like continuous, like makes me able to keep learning. And but I never really enjoyed it. Like I knew like. Sparring, but I was like, okay, cool. Like, especially at the beginning, when you're sparring Muay Thai at the beginning, you're not too great, you know, so there's no like enjoyment from it. And then, so it took me quite a while. And then when I got to, I remember I was in London, I moved in Muay Thai gyms, and I went to a gym that did Muay Thai and grappling jiu-jitsu. And I stayed back and I saw these people grappling, and I was like, what is like, what is going on? What are they doing? Seeing two black belts grapple, it's like a whole different thing.
Oh my God, it's amazing. It kind of looks like, depending on the type of flow, they either look like insects fighting or like they move like water. Or
Yeah.
Barely touch the ground. It's crazy.
It was the second one. It was no gi. It was them two just like grappling at each other like spin. I was like, I want to try this. And just like you, and I did that, and then I moved again. And then when I moved, I was like, no, I have to continue doing this. And you know, that's gonna be my journey. So you mentioned when you first got there, right? What was that like? You know, so you had no idea about what you're getting into, but what was the culture like? What was the people like? What was it like at the first few days and months for you?
Oh, yeah, such a good question. Because again, I think I was very lucky to just stumble on this gym with this amazing community. Because I think that also kind of brands your experience of the sport, right? Like if you sign up to a sport that you've never done and obviously the environment is not good, you're going to have a bad idea and a bad experience of the sport in general.
Absolutely.
Even if in reality, it's not the sport's fault, it's the gym's fault, I would say. So I was very lucky to stumble on a very positive community and environment. And I don't know, I was just so fucking excited. So again, even if I knew, I was like, I know I'm bad at this. I remember after the first class, I was kind of like lost, thinking like, what was that? But also I'm in love. And I remember like trying to research as much as possible, because also Jiu-Jitsu is very technical. You know how much vocabulary you have to learn.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, when somebody tells you like,
you have no idea what
great to have guy, you're like, what?
Yeah, exactly. What? Yeah.
So I remember like trying to do so much research, gi, no gi, what I should wear, like. Even the fact that the class was split was something I did not know. And so I just remember going to class, and it's because I think the thing that it's so particular about Jiu-Jitsu is, and I'm sure you will relate, is that it's so humbling. So even after a month, you walk in thinking, I know nothing. So I remember the first classes, I was basically, whenever I would pairing up with obviously somebody I did not know, I would be like, I'm sorry, this is like my fourth class. Sorry if I'm so slow. I'm trying to like, you know, register everything happening around me. But at the same time, obviously, the more you go, the less clueless.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And then I think for me, what I really started enjoying, it's the fact that obviously people start to recognize you. And then it's not like, it's so daunting when you have to pay with a stranger, but it's totally different when you're like, that guy or that girl, like we're friends. It's all gonna get like, we're gonna drill again. Important question. Gi or no gi?
No gi.
Oh, thank God.
No gi. You know, it's funny because it's funny you say that, because when I first started, I liked both. I liked gi also because I could learn more technical aspects of jiu-jitsu. I was like, I need to learn the stuff. But then as you get better at jiu-jitsu, when you start facing people who start, I guess, trying hard against you, getting choked by your own clothing is not fun.
No.
It makes the sport way more slower.
I think because what I love about jiu-jitsu is that I think it's such a asshole sport. Like, don't get me wrong, to get punched on the face, it's quite infuriating. But to get choked, it's even more like sadistic in a way.
Yeah.
But then if you choke me with my own clothes, it's like you're making fun of me.
You're making fun of me.
Like, it's even more insulting.
It's more, and it's also like when you can't get away. It's like when the person has you in a choke and you can't get away, and then like because they can always have a hold on you and the grippling and then all the aspect of it, and then your hands from all the grippling. I remember after my first session, it was just like this the whole day. I was like, yeah, no, this is a lot.
Yeah, especially with the fact that I need to be drawing with my hands. I did my first class in year, and I literally cut myself open, like I was bleeding my finger, because I did not tape myself. When you see people taping, you're like, oh yeah, the black belts, they're competing, like that's for like veterans, you know? No. Every somebody told me like, you better like protect your hands, because I mean, maybe my skin is sensitive or something, but yeah, I remember thinking like, oh my god, this is gonna give me arthritis or something. And it's annoying because I bought the gi even before assessing if I liked it or not, and I still feel like I want to learn, and I respect the tradition because that's literally like the traditional way to do the sport. But no, yeah, I hate when people grab you by your sleeves and you can't even.
And you can't move and you can't go anywhere. Yeah, I think no gi also, like, to balance that out, no gi was like so fun.
Yeah.
Especially when you're facing someone around, even at the beginning, I found it fun, you know, like just like running around. They call me Drew or so at my gym because I'm always like energy. I'm always just like, if you try to grab me, I grab out of it and then I'm back again. And just because I like that kind of like go aspect. And you face people who like flow roll is so.
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing. You cannot, I think, especially as a beginner, you cannot like imprint on them. Like, I want to always spar with you now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You've got people like that where you always like, okay, as soon as the sparring is on, you find them, you're like, let's go.
Yes.
You got a little competition going between you guys every session.
I don't know if you have the same, but like I have a different style of fighting depending on who I'm with.
Absolutely.
So there's the guy that we go really rough together. The guy that's all floral, and that allows you to do the weird stuff, because obviously as a white belt, you know that you don't know, and sometimes you improvise, and sometimes you fail, sometimes you get lucky. But having the team player or like your teammate that allows you to do those things, I think is so important, because the opposite would be feeling so
smothered almost.
Yeah, or insecure. Like, it's bad when it's good to be conscious that you don't know stuff, but it's bad when it makes you self-conscious.
Yeah.
Then you don't want to try anything.
Yeah, and then you get like too overwhelmed by the whole thing, and then you don't do anything.
Yeah.
Like those people, that's why I really like the people that you kind of start on the same level with, where it's like, okay, like we both know you don't know. So like when we're facing these guys, we're just trying to like not get submitted.
Yeah.
But we're whole half. I remember
Escape.
Literally, just escape. And then like so many times I've been saved by the belt, and I'm like, oh, I lasted the round. I didn't get submitted. And I'm like, they're like happy I did not get submitted by this like 16-year-old guy.
But I think that's I think that's a really good goal to have as a white belt, because then when an upper belt gets impressed by the fact that you have escaped so many times,
absolutely,
it feels so good.
It does.
And also because everybody is trying to submit you, so of course after a while, like, man, I've been spending months just escaping arm bars. Everybody's arm bar me.
Yeah. Mine is leg locks. Everybody tries to leg lock me, and I'm like, because I always, you know what it is, because it's my fault. I don't learn, so I always go with my legs. Especially when I'm on my back. I'm always like trying to like, and then like, well, okay, I'll just grab your leg. Then I'm like, okay, yeah, actually, don't do that, Jeff. Go and to learn to do more steps and stuff like that. But I had a question. You mentioned about humbling experience. Talk to me about that. What did Jiu-Jitsu teach you? Like, about yourself? I think, humbling for me was one of them too. But what else did Jiu-Jitsu teach you about yourself? What did you learn?
Well, first of all, it made me realize that I love fighting, because you remember when I said like that the thing that I really didn't like about karate was because I don't know if you know anything about karate.
A little, I mean, this forms, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Katas.
No.
So it's basically like you do fighting positions, but obviously there's no opponent. It's just you against yourself kind of thing. And obviously it's about posture and technique and strength and all of that. And obviously it's impressive. I'm not trying to, devalue that. But I remember thinking like, I want to have an opponent in front of me. I don't want to just do the practicing stuff. Oh my God, with jiu-jitsu was like, like you get confronted with somebody else that maybe is stronger, maybe it's taller, maybe it's better in the sense of like has more experience. And I truly love that. And I think another cue or something that it made me realize that I was like, yeah, of course I love it, because I used to wrestle with my sister when we were little. We were horrible. Like I feel bad for my mom because we used to honestly fight just for the fun of it.
Yeah.
So I remember looking back and thinking, yeah, this is exactly what I used to do with my sister. So that, and also the fact, tell me if you feel the same, but one of the reasons why I love sparring so much is because there's a moment where you are thinking so much. Like jiu-jitsu is very much, I think, mind over body. So there's an element of thinking and strategizing and calculating, and the time just slows down. And I think what this sports really teaches you, or like one of the things that it teaches you, is thinking under pressure. Like truly, you cannot panic. So I think, I don't know, maybe this is not true, but I think it will lead us to that point, some point of unlearning panicking.
I completely agree. I'm just nodding because I agree. I think, especially when you realize that panicking gets you nowhere. Like if you panic in a bad situation, you just made it worse.
Yeah.
And the person's going to submit you. Or like, and I feel like there's some lessons where if you embody it, you learn it quicker. And the jiu-jitsu is one of those things where it's like, if you see it happen to you multiple times over like a sparring, like the whole, and he's boom, boom, okay, next time, don't panic. Next time, don't try to struggle, or like, don't waste your energy. And it's like, if you take stuff like that, I always say it's like taking a situation of life and like kind of putting it in a sporting atmosphere. So you can learn so much in that like 5-minute rounds or 6-minute rounds, right? But you can apply it to life, like you said, don't panic, like you said, always remain calm, like it's just loads of things about just strategizing. And I think there is something to be said about embodying a lesson. It's like we have so much of our reasoning now is up here. All of the society we have kind of right now is all intellectual. But what jiu-jitsu does is it kind of brings it to the body, where if you think, you've already lost, because it takes too much time to think about a thing, then process it through your body. You have to act on instinct. You kind of have to just like, okay, he moved, I have to just go, like reacting to other person's reactions, why they react to your reactions, it's too quick for you to try to like kind of reason that out. And so you have to let your reason mind go to rest. When it's reason telling you to tap because this person is strangling you, and you realize, no, actually they might get tired. Let me hold on. Let me put my finger here because my finger might help me breathe a little bit. It's overriding that, and I think that's so important.
Yeah. It's on that point, actually, I think another thing that jiu-jitsu can teach you is to watch out on your arrogance, because I think most of the times when people hurt themselves in jiu-jitsu is because they have the arrogance of, oh, I'm not gonna tap, like I can just like push through this, and then your knee pops.
Yeah. I mean that's one thing they teach, I think, at every gym, like just tap. Like I think they big on that at my gym too. It's like, okay, like we're all friends here. We're not like competing. And like, I'm not trying to hurt you. So they'll be like, what are you doing? Tap. They'll just, even though they have it holding, they'll tell you like, what are you doing? Like So I think that's really important, to have a gym where people aren't just trying to like, just like, macho with themselves. It's just like, we're just trying to learn a thing. And humility is so important. I think the first 6 months of jiu-jitsu is the most humbling thing I've ever done in my life.
I agree.
Because I was bad every day.
Yeah. And I do think it's interesting, the fact of, I don't know, I've never been so bad at something, but at the same time, I cannot dislike it.
Yes, yeah.
Usually, for example, let's take drawing, for example, right? Or like writing for me, honestly. I don't think I'm a good writer, and I think I postponed writing for 25 years of my life, because every time I would read something I wrote, I was like, ew. And that wasn't really, encouraging to keep writing.
Yeah.
Jiu-Jitsu, oh my God, it's truly like, it tricks your brain into thinking, like, almost like I don't care that I suck. I just want to keep going.
Keep going, yeah. And that's the best way to learn.
So fun.
That's the best way to learn. You mentioned you're a writer and also you're an artist and also now you're a jiu-jitsu practitioner.
Yay.
What does that say about, because I often think about this, what does that say about the identity people hold or people like kind of put in themselves, because someone would say that like, if you're a writer, you shouldn't be doing combat sports. So if you're combat sports, you shouldn't be painting, doing paintings and stuff like that. But you've learned something because you've done this. What have you learned? What do you think that says about the identities people hold on themselves?
I think obviously it's very personal, but I think the moment that you free yourself from this mindset of being a one singular being, your life just gets so much easier. And I think even if we take a step down from, complexity regarding like different parts of somebody's life, like sport and then art practice and then your job and etc. etc. I was even struggling with that element within my art practice because I remember thinking, okay, well, I like oil paintings and I like doing digital stuff and I like graphic design and I like photography. I have to pick one because otherwise I will not go anywhere. And it's kind of like that trick of that. What's that way of saying like jack of all trades?
Yeah.
Jack
of all trades, master of none.
Exactly. Oh my God, the moment that you abandon that thinking, because who cares? There's people that are incredibly talented on one singular aspect of something and they put their 100%, good for them. I think for the longest time I wanted to be that person. But then actually realizing, fuck it, I can enjoy more than one thing. It actually enriches your whole practice. And then if we go back to your point, if you apply that same thinking to stuff that is also outside of your art practice. So for example, I draw, but I also enjoy sports. Like I'm very competitive, or I like the idea of maybe, I don't know, applying a type of lifestyle like an athlete. Who cares? Do it. And guess what? I think doing those sort of things actually enrich your art practice. Obviously, also yourself as a person, but it feels so good to think. It feels so good to think that I'm not taking time away from my practice. I'm actually like cultivating it in an indirect way.
Absolutely.
What do you think about?
No, I 100% agree. I think so. Yeah, I'm very similar. I think I've always been that way ever since I was a kid. I would read a lot, but I'd also play football. Like I played football every day, and then when I wasn't playing football, I was reading, or like I guess as I got older, it became poetry, and it became jiu-jitsu, it became podcasts, and it became something else. I think it's I've always known that like the breadth of who you are is more important than the singular thing you focus on. And I always had this like kind of like understanding that I have so many sub-identities within me. And those sub-identities are actually far more interesting than the overall identity. Whereas obviously if your friends would know you as one thing, they know you as, Chloe, and you obviously know who Chloe is, but Chloe knows herself even more deeper as like what you're interested in, the things that you choose to focus on, the things that you read, or even for me, for example, right? When I started like doing poetry, went from being a sports person, I always knew, I was like, oh, like this is so interesting. And like the idea of like following your interest has always been clear to me. And so like I always done that. Like, this is fascinating to me, and so for me, I will go down that route. And because I have that kind of understanding about what interesting to me is actually what's more like salient, I go deep into that. And then when I come back out, it kind of helps everything else. So
you never felt the pressure of having to stick to one thing?
I mean, from the outside, it was there, but I didn't care when I was doing what I cared about. Okay. I'm a very like, I think maybe also because I like spending time on my own. So if I spend time on my own, I don't care what people think about what I'm doing. If I'm watching a history video, like, I'm focused on like, I don't know, intellectual discussions, to me, that kind of fostered that kind of perspective of like, if you don't like what I'm doing, of course you don't. You're not me. What's more important is what I think is interesting. So I've always been like that way. And like the outside perspective would come in, and then it's funny that because it comes in as like a soft thing where it's like, oh, like you shouldn't do this. But then when you start just being obsessed with what you do and talking about it, people start being interested. So it's kind of that thing where it's like, if you get through the initial kind of pressure about what you should do, what you shouldn't do, people start actually being interested in it because you actually go and find the gold and you can come back and be like, oh, by the way, this is cool, you know? And I think it's so important. And I think I want to talk a little bit more about like that, like identity now, because I think like people's, you know, like for example, I was talking to a friend of mine, you know, about this and this, you know, so it's about like the mandem. Do you know what you know what mandem is, right?
No.
Mandem. So it's like, you know, people from like Africa or like Caribbeans from a certain part of London, they address themselves as mandem. You know, they wear the Tech Nines. It's like an idea of like someone who's from London and like, I guess subculture, right?
Okay.
And like, we were talking about how people would be in that subculture and just kind of stick to that subculture. And they wouldn't like get out of that subculture to learn new things outside of that. And they'll be kind of like chained by this idea of who they're supposed to be, you know? And like, I was like, I've never been like that. I've never cared to be like that. It's never been an interest to me to appear this way because of other people's perspective of everything. You know, and he was asking why. And I was like, I don't know. I guess maybe I cared more about my internal, you know, my internal than the external. I've always cared more about my own opinions of myself than other people's opinions of me. And my own opinion of myself has been so like, I guess like focused that it kind of as points hurt because there's like so much going on up here. But out there could never influence in here. Like it was always louder in here than it was out there. Is that something you found to be the case for you? What's your relationship been with like, you know, like you said, you know, like you were a fighter when you were younger and you become an artist. Have you also found people's external trying to like influence that, and have you kind of like, if you've had to push back against that?
Oh, that's such an interesting question because it's a bit hard to look back, and I wouldn't say so. Like I don't think I had pressure from other people or like the outside of being something else than what I was trying to be. I think if what I received was more like a resistance of what I wanted to be without anything clear pushed onto me. Like, for example, it's not like my mom was like, oh, I don't know, you have to be a lawyer necessarily, but for sure there wasn't really that much of an enthusiasm of me pursuing a creative career, which is even more disorienting because at least if I had somebody telling me do X, you know, like do this or do that, like at least, I don't know, it would be, I guess, if it would feel like a suggestion. But no, it was just like, whatever you want to do, it's not really good. You should do something else. It's like, oh, that's humiliating. And at the same time, I don't know, you know, when you describe like that you always were good on like with your own company, right? I think it's something about creative practices that makes you comfortable with your solitude or like your own company. And I definitely had that. But at the same time, like for example, when I was in high school, I was very much on my own. I didn't have that massive friend group. I had like my 3 or 4 like close friends, or 2 or 3, I should say. And then when I was doing karate, like nobody else around me was doing martial arts. So again, it was very isolating because it felt like nobody could relate. And my dojo, I mean, I liked it, but it wasn't even the best community because it was a group of 8 guys and then myself. So there was a little bit of much that abrasiveness, should say, like between the genders. So again, very isolating. I think I am glad to have found this courage, I should say. I don't know how to describe it, but like, I guess at some point I got tired and I was like, I'll just do whatever I want to do. Even if it's weird, or even if people think that maybe sports and art doesn't make any sense, or even if people say, oh, but all this time that you put it on the dojo, you should put it on to art. I don't care at this point. I think it's one of the bliss of getting older because like I used to give a fuck because I was younger, and so I was lacking confidence. Now at this point, it's like, why should I listen to you?
Absolutely.
And at the same time, not caring led me to finding this amazing community. So it feels less isolating. And I think the point that I was trying to make is the true liberating act is just to create an identity that works for yourself. So I don't know, maybe you're a musician that does rock climbing and is learning languages as a hobby and also collects stamps. That's amazing. I think the way that you said it before, like the breadth of that person. Yes, exactly. It's like, allow yourself to be complex, man. Like, why I don't understand where this stems from, of a society of having to be one thing, or even worse. I noticed this especially on social media. There's this whole thing of like, oh, you're good at, I don't know, crochet. You should you should sell your jumpers. Like, why does everything have to be about money?
Yeah.
Like, we cannot let creativity just be creativity anymore, or like craft for the sake of craft.
Absolutely. I think it's like, you mentioned it right too. It's like, if you start a thing, I think it's almost a complicated relationship that competent people have with new hobbies, right? It's like you start something, oh, I want to be really good at that. Like, we were joking like, before. I remember we were saying that I want to be a black belt. And you're like, you too.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like, I have that, and I have that because I want to be good. I want to get better. I know that outcome. It's not really about being a black belt that matters. It's about enjoying the sport for that long. But I forget a lot of the time, when you're really good at something, you want to be the best at it, and then it becomes hustle, another way to hustle, another way to side project, you know, rather than just being something you do to just relax.
Yeah. Even if I have to say with Jiu-Jitsu, the belt thing, like, because you're right, you do have that eagerness of like, oh, I want to, like, oh, to be even just a purple belt. Like, I would be happy like that.
They look so cool walking around in the purple belts.
Yeah. But then it's kind of like a wake-up call, because I think in Jiu-Jitsu it's very clear the amount of years that each belt takes. It's not very arbitrary. Like, it's very much, I would say, because at least again, I compare it to karate because that's my background, but I think it's very clear. Like, it's usually 2 years for each belt. So whenever I find myself thinking of fantasizing about, oh my god, imagine being like a blue belt or a purple belt or whatever, I'm like, yeah, okay, but remember, like 6 years.
Absolutely.
6 years on the mats.
Yeah.
But that helps me, you know, because it's a way of measuring. Like, for example, if you tell me like, oh, do you want to be great at crochet? I'm like, yeah, but how do I even get that? No clue, because I don't know what's the road to there. At least with Jiu-Jitsu, it feels like, do you want to spend 6 years on the mat? Hell yeah. I can't wait, actually. So it doesn't feel that daunting. It feels encouraging, but in a very sick and twisted way.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah, because to me, it's like, and also you see the people, then you see like the discipline they've been able to inhabit in their own life. I think that's what I'm more fascinated by. Like, black belts are just like cool people. Like, they just like
impressive,
you know. And I think that's kind of like what I'm, you know, it's that kind of live outlook. That's what I'm trying to chase. Speaking on like, we were talking before about identity and like, you know, society on social. And I think I mentioned to you before about Substack. And I feel like how Substack is a very interesting way we can understand the culture, because people inside the culture write articles about what they experience. And I think I love those like little like relationship / life outlook kind of Substacks that they kind of is like it's like a bubble that there exists. I know you're also on Substack too, and you recently wrote a Substack called Let the Male Perform. Talk to me about that. Let's start there, because I want to go into about relationships and culture and I guess love and society and all of that. But start from there. What inspired this Substack of yours?
Cool. So that Substack is part of my general blog, The Sex Chat, where I'm trying to at least write about love, dating, relationships, all of that. What really intrigues me, or what I'm trying to bring to the blog, it's I just love reading and learning and talking about kind of like our society behaviors and habits and what's happening in pop culture and that kind of thing. So I'm trying to also like kind of insert that. I think it's nice to have like a more lightweight note every once in a while. And I just couldn't not notice this thing that has been circulating recently this summer. Again, I don't think we should take it too seriously, but I'm sure you have noticed this phenomenon happening of this kind of male expressing themselves as creative, very in touch with their emotions, walking around with that tote bag, usually wearing a really attractive mustache, drinking matcha latte, and listening to Clairo, Lana Del Rey. And first of all, I'm going to be fully transparent here and putting myself on the spot. I have dated that kind of guy. So I'm definitely like, I'm clearly biased on not only noticing, but appreciating that kind of person or guy, whatever you want to call it. Second of all, the moments, so first I noticed people commenting about it or like noticing and even just putting the name on it because it's very interesting, like the performative male. I'm like, okay, interesting. But then when people started to bring it down and make, obviously on the internet you have to take stuff as they come. Like I know people were joking about it, but it just made me think this thing of us, especially women, making fun of guys performing, technically claiming that these kind of guys are acting and dressing and showing, communicating in that way to attract women, like in a manipulatory way, to show like, oh, look, I'm a guy in touch with my feelings and I listen to the same music and I read poetry.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, but is it really truly like that completely? Like, I'm sure there's some people that act in a certain way to attract the other gender. Fair. I think that's nothing new. But then, is it truly a good thing to critique men expressive sensitivity? Because otherwise, how are we going to move on? Like, if first we have criticized, I don't know, culture. Thank you. Or we can even say like feminism or like women. We criticized toxic masculinity, which I think it was very important for that to come into the light, especially for mental health, which please, I want you to comment on that as a guy yourself. But then I'm like, okay, once we highlighted the problem, if men start acting differently, like for example, instead of, chugging beers and catcalling women, I'm going to start wearing vintage clothing and drinking matcha and listen to that array. Why are we criticizing that then? Because what is the positive outlook that you want from that? I want guys to feel comfortable with expressing sensitivity. Obviously, if they do it for the wrong reasons, that's a different thing. But you cannot know that from looking at strangers sitting on a bench reading a book and calling that performative. I think that's also very interesting. I think social media has made anything that happens in a public space reframing it as performative. Even if they are the ones posting it online, not the person that is doing the performance technically. So anyway, point of my piece was let the male perform. It's okay. It's also very interesting that women perform as well, but nobody critiques us for it. If anything, it's almost expected of us. So that doesn't make us a bad person or like bad people. But if guys do it, it's bad. I don't understand. What do you think of that?
I mean, yes, it's fascinating. I think you are right. People tend to make molehills out of anything that happens because they want to comment on stuff. I think the performative male is an interesting one because it kind of shows the like, because I didn't know much about it until I saw you write the article, and so I had to kind of like do my little bit of research, which is like watching one video about it.
We're clearly not on the same side of it.
But no, I think it shows that the culture now is reflective. It's so like reflective of what comes before. Like you were mentioning, so obviously toxic masculinity comes and then people learn from that. And then the reflection, I guess maybe the other side of that is to go full on performing. But I think it's like, obviously it's not a bad thing that happens. And so, but people comment on it becomes a conversation. So the conversation, people will start looking at it and be like, oh, wait, that means I can't have a tote bag, or that means I can't drink matcha. And it's like that society playing their own rules on people. I think that's the issue, when it's like, when people can't just be people, because you don't know why that person has a tote bag. Maybe his friend buys him a tote bag and he thinks it's a cool thing to have a tote bag. And I think he commented on like mental health, and I think it's fascinating because I've always preached, like I said, sensibility and like being sensitive and vulnerability, and I think that's just a lot of strength in that. There's a lot of strength in being vulnerable. But I also think it's important to be yourself and not let the culture dictate who you are.
Yeah.
But I think it's so difficult with social media because anything you do will be taken as if you're representing something.
Yeah.
So even if I say, okay, be yourself and don't do anything out of the ordinary, I don't know that person. And maybe that is who they are. And so it's a very interesting dynamic because whatever you do will be commented on, you know. So it's like, you kind of do as you will. I think it's good for mental health, and if I was going to say it like that, because you have to open the gap a little bit more for people to kind of represent who they are. You know, if the gap for being a guy was just, like you said, chugging beers on a Friday night, and loads of guys didn't do that, maybe they thought that they weren't guys, and like internally, you know, and so we got to like kind of like change that perspective a bit.
Exactly, because you're not a man if you do this thing, and that's the whole, I think, core of the whole toxic masculinity culture of like, if it's doing something or behaving in a certain way, which is all the negative behavior that have also harmed women and harmed men as well. So I don't know, I find it interesting, especially because then another reflection I had from when I was writing that article, I was like, if I was a guy, I would totally be called a performative male. With a leather jacket, and at least I have like the string headphones, and I don't enjoy much. So again, it's like, this is clearly just related to gender, and it kind of reminds me, again, going back on like how internet can be toxic sometimes, when people used to kind of like police the way that people were to dress, because they were like, oh, you're queer baiting, like if you wear like a carabiner in your trousers, but it's like, but you don't know my sexuality, like how can you tell if I'm baiting or not? Like you just can't do that.
Yeah, again, this is the social media commenting on things, and it's always about commenting on things to kind of like address a specific subgroup, because they want to talk about it. It's like an ongoing conversation they're having in that subgroup, but they forget the human beings that exist. I want to also kind of like, on that topic, build on that, talk about dating. How do you think, start with a very simple question. What do you think of the current dating sphere? If you had to look at it as like an anthropologist, kind of like look at society currently where we are and just like look from the outside looking down, what do you think of the current dating, I guess, culture?
Oh my God. Starting saying that I'm not an expert, obviously.
Neither am I, by the way. So we're going to have a lot of uninformed opinions, but, you know, our own opinion.
Obviously, I can only speak from my personal direct experience as a queer woman living in London. I think, especially talking about our generation, I think from what I observed, we are very fucking scared. And I think it's a result to possibly the pandemic.
Yes.
Possibly us being glued to our phones.
Yes.
And there's definitely been a loss of the habit and the skills of socializing in public spaces with strangers, because obviously it's easy to socialize with your friends. And I think that caused all a like a ripple in dating in general, because I believe, first of all, we're not comfortable with engaging anymore. Obviously, I'm not talking about the guy harassing girls in the bar. I'm talking like, you know, just approaching strangers, because that's how connections used to be made. Like if you ask the older generations, it's always like we meet at a dance, we met at a bar, or we meet at a comedy club. You know what I mean? So I think people don't do that anymore. Also, again, disclaimer: we live in a city where the culture, I think, is very individualistic. So obviously that doesn't help, because everybody just stands by themselves and doesn't really interact with others unless it's necessary. The other thing I would say is I feel very scared of making those claims, because this is, again, just...
It's fine. You're allowed to do it on here. It's fine.
My experience. I think there's an avoidance of intimacy that is very interesting, because at the same time, intimacy, it's just on a click of a button on your phone, but it's a very superficial kind of intimacy. When then it gets to like actually approaching and having a connection with a person, it gets very awkward very fast, and that's why people withdraw so easily, and that's why we see things like ghosting, or we see things like people engaging in hookup culture even when they don't enjoy it, because I think only a very small percentage actually thrive on it. I don't think it's the main setting as it is right now, which is quite scary. And yeah, I think I also, you know what, sometimes, so I've been dating for not a while, but like some time. And whenever I tell my stories to my friends that have been in long-term relationships, they get so shocked. They're like, I can't believe they behave this way. They were really mean to you. And my reaction is like, oh no, that's quite normal.
You've normalized it.
So it's quite weird.
It's fascinating.
What is your...
I mean, a lot of what you said I agree with. I think, having added to that point, I think we've kind of weirdly reflected the digitalization of, I guess, relationship and love, where on one hand it is intimate because we were talking all the time, and it's almost like, because there's these things like fast love, where it's like love bombing, because we want to kind of like represent the idea of it's close intimacy and connection, but we don't have the time to kind of let it build, like let it build. Like it starts with a friendship first, or like, then you move, even if it's not a friendship, like develop that kind of the symptoms of a friendship, where it's like you trust each other and you believe, and you like, you're not going to ghost the person. So it's like, it's very much, we've adopted new ways of, I guess, like interacting in this like social dynamic because of dating or whatever, because, everything's kind of updating, but we've not understood the basics almost of like, okay, wait, do I actually like this person? Or how, like, do I like myself first? It's like the building blocks of what it takes to connect with a person has been lost. And I completely agree with you, because that shows a ripples effect of like how people interact on dating apps, or how people interact in real life. And it's not even starting to affect the connections between the genders or whatever, like between like people, just outside. When people meet people, they're very much skeptical. Initially you're skeptical. If someone approaches you, it shows interest in you, you're going to be skeptical of, wait, what? Because you have experiences of people showing interest in you for their own goals and their own things, and there's things like, I feel, but I want to talk about how we get out of that, because I know the problems in dating have been kind of like talked about for so long.
Good point.
And everyone always makes that point, and then they go, okay, yeah, but like, I don't know, I'm just going to go back into it, because what am I going to do, But I feel like if we don't dissect it, like take it apart and go, actually, wait, I see what the problem is. This thing is not working. Let's actually fix this thing, and then maybe we can put it back together.
Yeah.
On that point, actually, what do you think is the one thing, if you take it apart like a machine, and you look at it, it's like, this thing is not working, guys. We got to fix this first.
So obviously it's not going to change overnight, but I think one key point is people have to start educating themselves on like not only their own emotional like well-being, but also just like their emotional skills towards others. And maybe a little bit of like ethical education there, because for example, there's this columnist called Dan Savage, and again, just listening to him, I think it could give the average person quite some, at least like a good toolkit, not only to preserve their own emotional well-being, but also how to preserve others, because that's what I think it's a big chunk of dating, but people tend to ignore that, because people again tend to just think about themselves, right? And it's one of his rule that he coined, or whatever, like he gave this name to this practice. It's the campfire rule or campsite rule, I can't remember. And you're like, what the fuck is that? Basically, the idea is to leave the place that you just allocated yourself for the holiday or whatever in a better condition that you found it for the next person, right? So I think, and I sound silly with the campsite analogy, but my point is, I do think you should, when it comes to dating, you should leave the person in a good enough condition, like a better condition than what you find them, instead of a worse one. Because I think most of the times, especially when maybe you had just a casual connection, people are like, yeah, but I don't owe you anything. And it's like, but you do though.
Yeah, absolutely.
You do owe it to the other person to be kind, to be considerate. And, it takes more labor, but it's the right thing to do. But the point is, if people don't know, for example, I think sometimes just having the name of something really helps to make it stick to your mind. Because if people don't even know about that, maybe they're not gonna consider it. That doesn't make them a bad person. It's just hearing that and thinking, yeah, I should incorporate that kind of practice because it's the right thing to do.
It's the very basics too. It's funny. It's like, oh yeah, treat people in a good way and leave them. But I get it. And I think, even focusing deeper on that, I think the reason why people don't do that a lot of the time is because it's easier to be mean to people on your phone.
Or just not. For example, the ghosting thing. I understand the appeal because it's hard to say to somebody, hey, this is not clicking, I don't want to see you anymore, because it feels very mean. And so I think that's where it comes in, the idea of, okay, but if I disappear silently, they're not going to notice and it's going to be fine. That's never the case. Unless they never cared about you, then I guess, okay, that's no harm done.
Yeah.
But I think the moment we get comfortable with being uncomfortable,
yes,
and we do the right thing, I think the dating market or whatever, I hate that word, like the dating sphere, let's say, it's gonna improve a little bit. And I think I have to say I have noticed a little bit of changes. Usually that is related to the age of the person I'm seeing. But for example, I noticed there's a little bit more transparency now, what people say they want. Obviously you can never take it 100% granted, but I think it has gonna normalize, for example, to say I'm looking only for casual connections. And for example, when I was exploring dating when I was a teenager, because I think it was very normal, the term fuckboy was quite popular back then, because this is making me feel old, but it was quite popular back then because it was very normal, or it was very known between girls, of guys pretending to want something when it wasn't the case. So I think maybe there was a slight improvement that happened from the 2015 to now, but now we have other problems, I guess. I
mean, I think that was actually a ricochet effect of what we have now, because guys pretending to care about girls like that and then doing that made it so now this generation don't trust. They're grown up and they're like, I don't even trust what you're saying. Even if it's real, I'm going to protect myself first. And so it's like, and it makes it difficult because obviously vulnerability is so important to connection. You have to be able to just, lay your heart open a little bit, let the other person, I think we really struggle to be vulnerable in our generation. I think with people that we know for a long time, yes, we've kind of got better like that. But with people that we're trying to build a relationship with, it's very hard for us to do that. And I think it's all connected to intimacy. And I was thinking about the idea of talking to people all the time is being replaced for genuine connection. Building time, how we look at time in connection. It's like, if I text you every day for a month,
oh my God,
it's not the same thing as I've texted you maybe whatever for a year. We got to invest the time into these things, but it's all, again, everyone does it. So how are you supposed to be the one person that goes, actually, I'm not going to do that. If you text me, I'm going to ignore you. Or whatever, I'm going to take my time replying to you. It's all going to be viewed in a certain type of way,
Yeah, but also I find that it's a double-bladed sword, because it's so easy to get that fake sense of intimacy when you have that constant texting with somebody.
Absolutely.
And we got so used to this instant gratification of oh, what do you do? Oh, I'm here. And it can be in touch so much, which it's nice, I guess. And I think it is important in the current modern dating dynamics, because, for example, whenever I say to my friends oh, I'm starting to see this guy, we met a couple of times, the first thing they ask me is, did he text you today? I promise you. I wish we did not give texting so much value, but it is an element. I think even subconsciously, if you let me know, if you have a girl that really checks on you, maybe every day or maybe every couple of days, you're gonna think, she's really into me, no?
I'm different. I think I'm very abnormal. I don't text at all. I'm very bad. I think that's probably my issue. I don't know. Maybe because I don't view. Maybe because I haven't met the right person. That's on the line of that. But I don't view constant texting as a replacement for genuine time. If I spent time with you, that matters to me more than if you message me all the time, because I'm not going to message you all the time. And it's not that I don't care, because I'll call you and we have a conversation. Maybe I value deep conversations rather than short snippets of conversations that kind of appear to be deep. I think, but again, I can see why someone would say the opposite. someone who's found value in conversation and texting would say that this person is not texting me means they don't care about me, because the last person that did that, that's how they showed they cared.
Yeah.
So it's like we're facing people when it's, people got different ways of appearing to show that they care, but we're not understanding that. But we just kind of go have this like kind of like set boundaries. Oh, if you don't text me, you don't care about me. So it makes it very difficult.
Yeah.
What you go on?
No, please.
I was gonna say, like, on top of that, I know your stop stack is called the sex chat.
Yeah.
So what do you think about how the dating and like sex and how it's all been intertwined, and what effect do you think that's kind of having on us?
Oh, good question. So first of all, the name stems from the fact that when I decided to start writing about these topics was I want to promote this conversation about sex and relationships. Majorly inspired by Dan Savage, which, again, this whole thing stemmed from the fact that basically 3 years ago I started reading and listening to his stuff, and I was blown away because his material, it's incredibly educational. If you don't know of him, like, please look him up because he has been writing about sex.
What is his name?
Dan Savage. For the past 30 years. And even more than language related to dating and sex, not most, but like some of the words have been coined by him. So it's quite incredible the cultural impact that this guy has had on our vocabulary around sex. This being said, it's interesting because I think the way that we talk about sex has a direct impact on the way that we approach it. And by that, I mean, I've noticed this shift in the past 5 to 10 years of the way that we talk about it, in the sense of, I think before that, we used to have this approach of either it's monogamy or it's cheating.
Yes.
And so I think, thank for the queer community especially, we pushed this conversation of alternative relationships dynamics, which are possible when two people, adults, agree to it. And I think that's so fascinating because it really means, and I really do believe this, that our generation, and I would say the one before us, but not prior to the one before us, really had to educate themselves with no guideline or guidebook on how to do this. And I think it's interesting when I think it's beautiful when people start questioning themselves, like, what am I comfortable with? What I'm attracted to? Or like, what is the relationship type that actually fits me? Or what would I be interested into exploring? All of this, how does it sound to you? Are you familiar with anything of this?
Well, I'm familiar from the outside. I'm familiar from like a evolutionary point of view of, like, there's not just monogamy, but there's also different ways of just relationships between people. Not from my own experience. I think a lot of my experience is built on my culture, which is like traditional, like monogamy, and like even like dating. It was like very new to me. Like, you have to understand, I was born in Ghana, and I came here when I was 6, and then even when I came here, I was still in a family household which was very traditional. So like when I started dating or coming out, like, to this sphere, I was like, okay, this is wow. This is like all new to me. And so it was very much learning that and learning the different parts of it. And I think, it is interesting to me because it shows there is different ways the relationship can happen. But I don't know if I found it to be the same, like it's the case for me. I think there's a lot of complexity and a lot of emotional, I guess, for me anyway, a lot of emotional kind of, I guess, maturity, you would say, that comes with that. And I've not found that to be easy for me, especially when it comes to stuff like that.
I mean, I imagine, obviously it cannot be everybody's cup of tea, to say in a very British way. But for you, is it interesting knowing why some people do it? Yeah,
no, I think it'll be interesting to speak to people more about just that specific, like get into the minutiae, because when you have a perspective, if you're not monogamy, and what are you with different people, and what is that like? How do you balance that? Like, I would know how I feel about a person. If I feel this way about a person, it's very much singular, and I almost don't see other people. And if I do, then there's a thing about that. So it's like, I know that I'll find it interesting to see how they react to the same emotions that I probably would have in that situation, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
So I think it's fascinating. I think this is what I understand. I think our culture, or our generation, not culture, is redefining so many things all at once.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about it. So we're like, all of us are kind of like in subgroups kind of doing it, but no one's actually going, oh, by the way, new update, we don't do that anymore. Or like we are, but you know, especially when it comes to dating.
I mean, but we are though. It just in a very silly, stupid way.
Exactly.
Instagram.
On like Instagram and the memes and stuff like that. I know, but that's what makes it hard to like dissect.
Because I think that's what happened with the label situationship.
Yeah.
Coming up.
Yeah.
Because I think it was people calling out people, because I think before situationship was like existed, before then people were using the excuse of like, oh, I'm not looking for anything serious. Like, you know, I think it was a good thing of people creating a label, because it's kind of like you're calling it out. It's like, yeah, I mean, in a situation, I don't want to be in a situationship. Like again, I think labeling stuff gives you the power to owning the thing.
Yeah. I think it's interesting too, because it shows that like, there's more responsibility we're taking on ourselves when you talk about taking responsibility for our dating, taking responsibility for our, I guess, identity now. You know, we're not letting the world tell us what we should be, but we're actually making it for ourselves and figuring it out for ourselves. I think that's like super cool and super new. I think it's also be good to see how, from the things we learn, what we pass down, because we're learning so many things and we have to obviously discard some of them, you know, like we were talking before about dating and like, you know, how sometimes we're not being vulnerable or like being genuine in people, we're ghosting people. All these things may be a result of us being immature, you know, like just childish things, not being able to tell someone you don't like them anymore. Like that's so immature. But like, people are people, you know, people sometimes have that feeling of, I can't say that to that person, even if it's from a text, or like breaking up people through text. I think, and maybe wild take, I think they would be better off without phones. Not that we would do it, but I'm saying like without the focus on maybe being apps and all these things. Maybe genuine, like sitting face to face with people.
Yeah.
If I'm sitting face to face with you and I'm having a drink with you and, you know, we're talking, you know, and you go, how do you feel about me? I'm more likely to not just ghost you. I'm gonna be like, you know what? I like you, but like, you know, I'm not really, and then you can have a conversation about that statement rather than, nope, I'm gonna ignore that text.
I mean, I don't think, unless you're been in a relationship for like, I don't know, 5 years, I don't think people break up face to face anymore. I was actually thinking about this morning, because I used to have this, no boyfriend, but like this guy that I was mooching for like 2 weeks in high school, to then realize I did not like him that much. Because again, no, I mean, we had phones, but it wasn't like Instagram.
Yeah.
We met at the park and I simply had to tell him like, hey, listen, look, I'm really sorry. Like, I don't think this is working for me. That's it. But I don't remember last time I did this in my 20s.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
Right.
Because it surely shows like we don't even take the time to dump a person.
Exactly. He'll just kind of just like, ooh.
If anything, sending a text is almost seemed like, oh, at least he didn't ghost me.
Yeah, right? The bar is insanely low. Insanely low. But no, I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to when we kind of mature as a society and then go, you know what, maybe we don't do these things and keep the good parts of what we've been able to understand about the new world that we live in.
I don't know if we're moving into that reaction though. I think we're gonna get more avoidant a little bit, especially now. Oh my God, have you seen people getting into a relationship with AI?
I've not seen. That's crazy.
Yeah. And listen, I read one article and I was like, okay, you know what? This is a very a woman that is clearly struggling. And somebody made an article about her. Doesn't mean that it's like a cultural phenomenon. And then I read the second one. And then I read the third one.
Yeah.
So, okay, something's going on.
Yeah.
Because it's not just one crazy person, you know, having this kind of relationship.
Yeah.
So I think if I have to like try to do a prediction, people are going to get more avoidant in the sense of people are going to embrace only really getting into relationships only if they really like themselves. Because I also been seeing like this celibacy kind of trend going around. Are getting tired of dating. And so fewer relationships, less sex.
We can't live like that though.
Yeah, but statistically, Gen Z is already having way less sex. I think it's like
that's true. I saw that.
So I think we're going towards that.
Because again, this requires vulnerability. It requires the things that these things require. Yeah, skills. Yeah,
that we are losing.
Yeah.
On this depressive note, should we?
Yeah, no, I think we have to wrap. Or do you have a point?
No, I was hoping that you. I was like, we have to change topic now because
we can't like just okay. I'll say this.
Okay.
I think it always goes up before it goes like that. I think in every generation it's going to be like that. Like I said, we're figuring new stuff out. I think Gen Z is really going hold. Let's not adopt any of these things before we know what's going to be.
Yeah.
I think that's what's happening right now. I think, yes, obviously, the Gen Z is going to maybe not have as much sex as we did at their age because we were figuring so much stuff out and like just like doing, like adapting.
Yeah.
They're going to be like, actually, no. But they'll think they'll come back around when they get to be later on when they understand these things more. I think there's a lot of anxious people in Gen Z. And so like when you're anxious, you just don't do anything. You just kind of wait.
Yeah, I mean, we had the pandemic happening.
Exactly. And so like the skills that they need to learn, they never had the time. They didn't. I think everything's online now. We were kind of thrown into it. High school, you swim or you drown.
Yeah.
When it comes to like, social dynamics and social relationships and like, yo, I like that girl and all that stuff. I think it's like they're learning that on a whole new, I guess, plane of existence.
Would you consider yourself a romantic?
I'm absolutely romantic. But you know what it is? I'm both. So I'm like a romantic if I'm like really into someone, and then most of the time I'm just like, I just don't care.
Okay.
Like about like most, like I don't do casual. I don't do casual dating.
Yeah.
Like I'm like a romantic. If I find someone, I'm like, oh my God, you are insane. I'm like poem about them, whatever. And then I genuinely care, and I think I care in the sense that I want to get to know the person, and I'm very like, because most romantics have like this love bombing thing where they do is like, oh my God, I love you, everything about you.
Yeah, I'm guilty of that.
So I'm also guilty of that. So I'm very much conscious now of that. Actually, I like you, but like, just take time. Like I said, like a year instead of like a month. Let's take time, but that's that's difficult, especially when the climate's so different.
Yeah, and what I struggle with that is, I'm like I've been working on like not idolizing people. Because again, when you like somebody in your romantic it's like you just want to see the best in them, but most of it can be taken from reality, or it can be completely made up in your mind, and that sucks.
Yeah. I used to think the version of them in my mind was actually better.
Oh, so you were aware?
Yeah, of course. I got aware in mind where I was like, I'm like, oh wait, I was like rationally, they can't be this amazing. Like I see, but what I would say was like, oh, I'm seeing the best aspects of them. But I also knew I was also just focusing on the best aspects of them, because I would be like, oh wait, that thing they did, probably not the best thing ever, but it's fine because they're like this. And when I snap out of it, because I tend to snap out of it quickly, I go, oh, okay, they're just a person. They kind of like, they're just a person, like they just like me, just trying to figure stuff out. They got their own shit going on, but you don't recognize that when you're kind of like romanticizing someone. You just kind of see them as like perfect, and like they'd never do anything wrong, and they never have issues, or whatever, all that.
You're clearly smarter than me.
Why?
So they totally, both. I totally not have that thinking when I was younger, and I was completely into this delusion of this person I was feeding myself. And obviously, like, of course, you want to assume the best of the person that you're dating, but yeah, I used to have such a like fairy tale mindset. Also, but I'm talking like 5 years ago, so I was young.
Final question, because I know we have to wrap up. What is a question you're still trying to answer for yourself?
Regarding
life. What is the question that, I mean, we've talked a lot about identity today, sports, dating, culture. There's a lot of questions in that, but for you, what is something you're still trying to figure out for yourself, or a question or an answer you're trying to get? I know it's a difficult question, so you get some time to think about it.
I would say what has been really going on in my mind for the past, I would say 6 months more than a year. It's truly like crafting the end goal for myself in life. So, and I don't mean like, oh, by age 50, I have to make this amount of money. It's more like, okay, going back to remember like the beginning of the podcast that we mentioned, like doing so many things and doing all the things you want to do regardless of your identity. I think it's like, maybe the thing I want from life is to experience all the things I want to experience, and being lucky enough to be able to do so, because that's a huge privilege. And hopefully to be able to love. Like, love is beautiful. Like, I know that we've been very doom talk there, but I've been lucky enough to encounter love in my life not once but twice, which I think it makes me pretty lucky. I really don't believe into the concept of the one singular soulmate. So, you know, looking back, I'm like, wow, man, not only was I able to be the happiest once but twice in my life. And I think love is always worth the heartbreak as well. So I just hope love finds me again eventually.
That's beautiful.
What's yours? I'm gonna flip back.
I didn't think you were gonna ask me that. I think initially, when it comes to like just like professional life and like things and ambition and stuff like that, I think it's finding comfortability in just like my own, like, I wouldn't say solitude, but my own perspective of the things I'm doing. Because I'm realizing more and more, not everyone understands like the vision that you have for yourself. Not everyone understands the goal that you have for yourself and the things you want to achieve. And when I was younger, I really wanted to be understood. Like, really wanted to be understood. Like, finally someone gets me. They get, not from a love perspective, I've kind of had that, but like when it comes to like, yeah, like they get the totality of what I'm trying to achieve and why I make decisions that I make. I think I'm realizing now that that's not possible. Like, I think no, because it'll keep changing. So like in your head, the things that you want, you know, it'll keep changing.
Wow.
And so the other person almost playing catch up, or like someone understanding you totally, is difficult, because not even you understand yourself totally. You know, you're understanding the parts of you, and that's giving you some like confidence, you know, because, oh my God, for me anyway, oh my God, okay, I know there's all these different aspects of me, and that's really cool, and actually I can move forward with that information, but it's not the totality of you, and the totality of you will take you your whole life to understand. So expecting someone to come in and understand yourself more than you even understand you is almost impossible. And what they will be able to do is to give you confidence in yourself. You know, they'll be able to make you go, you are exactly who you should be. You're perfect the way you are. There is no like, the flaws are your flaws. All of this is amazing. It's all part of it. But it will just make you more comfortable when you discover new things about yourself. It's kind of like what we talked about today, the identity thing. You know, it's like you're discovering new identities about yourself. Imagine someone met you a year ago, 6 months ago.
Oh wow, yeah.
You know, and they understood that version of you, but inside of you, you had this jiu-jitsu crazy monster that, you know, submits people and chokes people out. You know, like, but even you didn't know you could have a love of that until you found that. So I think, yeah, it's like me understanding that. Like, cool, like,
that's so true.
Whatever my perspective is, I might be the only one to understand it. That's okay. It's not a flaw. You know, it's part of it's part of how it works, you know. It's part of what it means to have a goal, like, you know, live a life that's like completely yours. It's that you have people do not understanding you all the time.
Wow, this was a massive wake-up call for me, because actually it was like, I totally relate to the need to be understood, and it really eats your life on the inside.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll think about this, because
I might not be right. Again, this is just my perspective from my life.
But you're right that, okay, let's say that you meet somebody that completely gets you. Let's pretend. If then they stick with you throughout the years, they have to be able to keep comprehending you, and so changing with you, but also changing so much that are still able to understand you as you go through changes.
And understand themselves. So again, this is why it's almost impossible, because it's like,
I don't know.
Because people grow and people change, and like, you know, the reality of it is like, you just hope that you grow in the direction which is like similar, rather than...
I never realized that until you said it.
I never realized that until like maybe when I said it. So we both figured out something new there. But yeah, no, I think it's but I think it's like that's what I love about life. It's like always a journey. It's always a thing that you're discovering. You discover stuff by yourself and then you just keep changing. I have had an amazing conversation today.
No, thank you. Please, last question before we finish.
Absolutely.
What's your favorite submission? Just one word. Yeah, just say the name, and then we can close the episode.
Okay. Choking from the back. Choking from the back.
Rear naked choke.
Rear naked choke.
Okay,
Yeah. Rear naked choke. Yeah.
Nice.
I was thinking so many other ones. I was thinking leg locks, but I'm not good at leg locks. I'm actually very bad at leg locks. Rear naked choke is fun for me because it means I have to like use my speed. Get like because I usually trap their arm. It's just so many things that needs to happen for me to get to that position, especially with my weight and like my speed and size. That is just.
Also, that gets you more points. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Have you started competing?
No, man, no. Too early. Like as soon as my coach says I'm ready, I'm gonna do it.
Fair enough.
My favorite is Darcy choke for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a little bit alternative, but yeah.
I like it. I like it too. I think it's amazing. All right, thank you so much, Chloe, for having this conversation with me. You've been amazing. Next time I guess we will be speaking about you competing and all these other stuff.
Well, first we have to see on the mat, and then
you're making me feel more guilty about myself by doing that. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure as always.
Thank you. All right, until next time, guys. Peace.